One of the most beloved scooters here at Camp ESG is also one of the world's most underrated, the original Wolf Warrior X. So when we heard Kaabo announce that they were bringing out a GT version of the X, it felt like Christmas had come early this year, especially after we saw what they did with the Mantis King GT. This is the Wolf Warrior X GT. Let me bring you up to speed on why we're such big fans of the Wolf Warriors. Back in 2020, Kaabo changed the game when they introduced the world's most famous dual-stem scooter, the Wolf Warrior 11, a scooter voted by riders as the world's best beast scooter twice, because it was so fast and so good off-road. It looked like nothing else, and at 108 pounds, defined a whole new category of scooter, but just lifting it up a curb was a feat of strength. So in 2021, Kaabo cooked up the Wolf Warrior X and X Pro, smaller 30-pound lighter versions with all of the ride quality of the 11 Plus and almost all of the performance. Since then, we've been watching Kaabo give scooter after scooter the GT treatment, starting with the amazing Wolf King GT, followed by the masterpiece Kaabo Mantis King GT, and hoping that we would eventually get a Wolf Warrior X GT. Will the Wolf Warrior X GT finally give us what we always wanted, the smooth sine wave controllers and faster top speed of the base model Wolf Warrior X, plus the big name brand battery of the Wolf Warrior X Pro? Will I still be able to lift it over my head? Will we get a better display and hugely improved ergonomics? Let's find out. But first, a note to people who have already subscribed to our channel. Remember to click the notification bell, otherwise you could miss our newest videos. In return, we'll make sure to keep giving you the most rider-centric and unbiased scooter reviews we can make. If you watch to the end, you'll find an ESG exclusive coupon code that takes an additional $200 off the Warrior X GT, but it's only valid for 1 week. Previously, with the Wolf Warrior X, you had to choose between the Wolf Warrior X Pro with an easy-to-read EY3 display and bigger battery, but slower acceleration from 27-amp square-wave motor controllers, or the Wolf Warrior X base model with sine wave controllers and surprisingly more power than the Pro, but a smaller generic battery and a display that's hard to read in sunlight. But with the Warrior X GT, you really get the best of both worlds, and honestly, the Wolf Warrior X we've always wanted. You get a big battery made from Samsung or LG cells, a gorgeous, easy-to-read display, and gobs of power with ultra-smooth throttle control from dual 30-amp sine wave controllers. As a bonus, the ergonomics also improved because of the thumb throttle. Previously, the trigger throttle and the zoom hydraulic brakes made your fingers do an awkward split if you wanted to cover the throttle and brakes at the same time, but no more. The display can be password protected and it works, but there are a couple tricks if you want to edit the modes or turn off the password entirely. I'll leave a comment down below describing how it works. The GT also looks cooler with new swag lights that say Wolf Warrior X GT down the sides, and like the previous version and the Mantis, you can control the color, speed, and pattern with the LED Hue app. There's no app for the scooter itself, but the 5 programmable riding modes really give you all the control you need. The one shortcoming is the display doesn't remember your last riding mode, so if you like riding in Gear 5 and dual motor like we do, you have to go up 4 gears and then hold down the plus button every time you turn on the scooter. The XGT has a very long deck. At 22.8 inches, it's almost 2 inches longer than before and the 3rd longest deck of any scooter we've tested, behind the eMove Cruiser and eMove Touring. It feels even longer because there's space to hang your toes over the front of the deck. This is one of the few scooters I've ridden where I never feel the need for more footroom. Early production Wolf Warrior X's had a problem with their rear tire rubbing on the fender if you jumped off a curb. When we received our base model Wolf Warrior X and X Pro, this had already been fixed. Our XGT also doesn't scrape at all. Aftermarket bushings can stiffen up the rear suspension, but we think the stock ones will work fine for anybody under the 265-pound weight limit. Water protection from the rear fender is still not the best, especially considering that the scooter is rated IPX5. If you ride in rain or mud, you'll want to extend the fender by sticking a short section of inner tube or black plastic to the rear fender. You might also want to add some black silicone on the grommets here and here to keep the water out of the deck. On the plus side, it has a large amount of fender clearance, especially at the front, so it won't get clogged with mud. The XGT uses a new type of charge ports on the right side, which are better protected from dust and water and are impervious to getting shorted out by random pieces of metal. While we like the added protection from the plastic covers, you'll now need 2 hands to plug in because they're spring-loaded. It's the same type of port used on the Mantis King GT with the same small problem. Make sure the charger light goes red when you plug it in. These can feel plugged in when they're not, especially if they're rotated the wrong way. Oh, and it comes with two 1.75 amp chargers, so charging time is about 8 hours from empty to full. And finally, like the previous Warrior X, be careful not to turn the bars fully left or right on the XGT, because the wiring harness can get pinched in between the forks in the frame. We wish Kaabo would install a steering stop or reroute the wiring harness to prevent this. We've called this out before, and unfortunately it's still a problem, so fingers crossed that they fix it on the next one. The Warrior X GT is so fast, it beats the Wolf Warrior 11's top speed of 45 miles per hour, clocking an ESG certified 45.3 miles per hour on flat ground. That makes the XGT the third fastest Kaabo scooter we've ever tested, behind the 72-volt Wolf King and Wolf King GT. We've never tested any scooter at this price point that goes faster. We took the Warrior X GT on our usual range test course, and since I spilled the beans about it having more efficient sine wave controllers and a big battery, you probably guessed already, but it just kept going. The Warrior X GT has the 8th longest range at a well over 100 range tests we performed, with an ESG certified 44.2 actual miles I rode before pushing it back to home base. That puts the Warrior X GT's range right in between the much more expensive Dualtron Thunder and the Dualtron Storm, and within 2.8 miles of the world's most famous long-range scooter, the Emu Cruiser. The sine wave controllers are more efficient, but they're also quick and ultra smooth. Here, the XGT shows off a little, reaching 15 miles per hour in just 2.1 seconds. For the price, only the Mantis King GT beats it, doing 0 to 15 in 1.9 seconds, the same time set by the Wolf Warrior 11 Plus. The Wolf Warrior X GT is also an excellent hill climber, reaching the top of our 200-foot, 10% incline in just 7.6 seconds from a standing start. Its lighter weight helps it reach 26 miles per hour at the top of the hill and tie the Wolf Warrior 11's time. The zoom brakes on the XGT are outstanding and super consistent. Our Wolf Warrior X and X Pro both stopped from 15 miles per hour in exactly 9.9 feet. The XGT beats them both, stopping in 9.8 feet. A truly outstanding result. Our only complaint? You can turn regenerative braking up or down, but there's no way to turn it completely off. Our Wolf Warrior X GT came with hybrid off-road tires, which makes sense on the XGT since it's such a great off-road platform. I tried them on hard-packed dirt as well as dry grass, and the traction was excellent. The only downside is they make a little more noise than road tires and are a tiny step down in smoothness. I thought they would have less traction than the road tires on our X Pro, but based on our braking tests, in a straight line, the XGT's off-road tires have the same traction or more. You can get the XGT equipped with either type of tire by using the link in this video's description. The suspension is firm but works well and feels exactly the same as the X and X Pro that we already have. It's a little firm for my 165-pound rider weight, so for me that means the harder I ride, the better it works. Heavier riders from 200 pounds up to the 265-pound weight limit will find it perfectly sprung, and honestly, this feels like a scooter that would carry a 300-pound rider with ease, but we can't really recommend exceeding the specified limit. This TFT display is the best we've seen. It's got all the information you need, it's easy to read in sunlight, and a first for Kaabo, it has turn signal indicators on screen. Even our brand new Mantis King GT doesn't have those. If this isn't your first hurrah with us, you've probably heard me complain about the dead zone on this type of throttle. The Nami, Wolf King GT, and Mantis GT all use the same one. So here's something interesting. There's a slight but measurable reduction in dead zone on the XGT. The throttle now has 1/8 inch less dead zone at the beginning of travel. Now the motor picks up as the backside of the throttle is even with the housing, unlike all the others that only start when the face of the throttle gets even. There's still gobs of dead space, but we're moving in the right direction. It still works best if you anchor the tip of your thumb on the housing and rock the base of your thumb into the throttle, so you have a reference point for when the throttle is going to kick in. And now for maybe the least exciting bit about the Wolf Warrior X GT, packing up your scooter. The folding time and folded height are bigger than other light heavyweights like the Mantis King GT. 2 double clamps mean more than twice the folding time, and once it's folded, the stem doesn't lock down to the deck. Thankfully, it's still smaller and easier to fold than the super clunky folding of the original Wolf Warrior 11, which gets even longer when folded. And while the Warrior X GT will fit in some trunks, 86 pounds and a stem that doesn't lock down ultimately makes for an awkward lift. I definitely can't lift it over my head like I could with the 79-pound X Pro, so if you need to carry it upstairs daily or put it in a trunk more than once a week, a Mantis might be the better choice. The Warrior X GT still has literally the world's best scooter headlights, the same ones used on the Wolf King GT, but has even better swag lights than the previous X. We still worry about breaking them when off-roading because they sound fragile when you tap on them. And not to rain on what was almost the perfect scooter, but it's really weird that you get brake lights or turn signals, but not both. If the turn signal is on, aka the blinking edge light, then there's no further response from the lights if you also squeeze the brakes. On the bright side, the signals are visible from the front, but we wish they were yellow and not white because the amazing headlight doesn't need any help from these deck lights. Finally, the entire Wolf series uses the world's loudest scooter horns. They look like something straight off of a motorcycle. This is great for interacting with cars, but I'd consider adding a bell if I were riding around bicycles or pedestrians because this thing will startle people. Pros include the world's best headlights, and the swag lights aren't too shabby either. It's exceptionally smooth and fast thanks to dual 30-amp sine wave controllers, an amazing 4.2-inch TFT display with turn signal indicators on the screen, and outstanding hydraulic brakes. Cons include brake indicators don't work simultaneously with the turn signals, rear fender still kinda sucks in the rain, and it's portability challenged relative to other light heavyweights like the Mantis. With all of the GT variants showing up, the Kaabo product line has gotten a little confusing, so we thought we'd break down the closest Kaabo alternatives. The Mantis King GT is more portable and sporty feeling, weighing 12 pounds less, and has adjustable suspension. But tested range is 8 miles less, it has slightly less high-speed stability, and while the high-mounted headlight is very good, the Wolf Warrior headlights are absolutely unbeatable for riding at night. The Wolf Warrior 11 Plus has a higher rider weight limit at 330 pounds and quicker acceleration. Plus, the larger 11-inch tires are a little better at rolling over potholes. But it's even less portable than the X GT, has 14 miles less range, and the X's 10-inch tires corner better. The Wolf Warrior X base model is less expensive and 6.2 pounds lighter than the X GT, but has lower top speed, shorter range, an outdated display, and throttle ergonomics aren't as good. The Kaabo Wolf Warrior X Pro is also less expensive and lighter, but has slower acceleration, lower top speed, and throttle control is more abrupt. So at first glance, the Wolf Warrior X GT seemed like the same scooter as the other X's, but with a new display and a thumb throttle. But deeper down, the X GT is really the Wolf Warrior X we've always wanted because it's got the power and smooth throttle of the base model X and the big name brand battery from the Pro. While I was riding it all week, I kept coming back to one feeling. It's hard to explain why, but it's the feeling of just dominating the road and everything around you. It's taken me a while to figure out why, but I think I've got it. It's because you feel like you've got extra of absolutely everything. Gobs of deck space, more power and more top speed than you really need, brakes strong enough to make your eyes bulge out, and honestly more range than most people have the stamina to use in one go. And the weight is just low enough that you don't feel like the scooter dominates you. All of this helps to make the Wolf Warrior X GT one of the very best off-road platforms we've seen, and one of the best light heavyweights, period. If you're less than 265 pounds and don't feel the need to go 61 miles per hour, this may be the best Wolf Warrior ever. We have a link for you in the video's description with an ESG exclusive coupon code for $200 off the Wolf Warrior X GT. Check it out now because it's only valid for 1 week. Also, leave us a thumbs up if you like this video, and remember to subscribe. It helps support our channel and helps micromobility take over the world. And who doesn't want that? Check out these other 2 ESG favorite videos.